I made a cup of coffee last night. I think it was around about 6 p.m. And my wife's like, "There's no way you're having another cup of coffee." I was like, "All right," but I didn't want to waste it, so I left it on the kitchen counter for this morning, and inadvertently made a brand new cup of coffee. So I'm double fisting it. Oh, right. Something I haven't been doing lately is closed captioning, right? So I'm going to turn that on. I think there's integration with my Twitch stream. So I just want to double check that, guys. I think it should be showing up in the stream. So I got a stream preview. And do I have closed captioning appearing in my screen? Yes, it is. It's going. Okay, that's cool. Although the translation is a little bit odd. So who knows about that? Yeah. So I guess this is a combination of therapy for the 3D artist or the VFX artist. And God, it's too early for this. I think I had a conversation with my son last night. He's 12. And he's dealing with these feelings of emptiness, right? And that's just filled me with dread because, I know how powerful depression can become later on when you approach the teenage years, when your hormones are going crazy and all the emotions are dialed up to 11. So kind of want to give him some of the tools to sort of help him deal with that, right? Just sort of build up a little bit of his resiliency, right? So I think one of the key points that I think might help you guys out is this notion of rising complexity and how do you deal with it, right? I think, the world has, because of COVID-19, the world has stated that they no longer need your physical presence. And yet, it has remained just as complex as it ever was. Even more so, actually. That's a lot to deal with, and I think sometimes we underestimate it. There's the initial joy of maybe I wouldn't call it joy, but understanding that maybe you don't have to go to work, that you can hang out at home, you can make whatever you want to eat, you can sit down in front of Zoom or Skype or whatever and have your PJs on underneath and just a nice shirt, all that kind of stuff. But that whole kind of, this is interesting, this is new, is sort of dried up a long time ago. I think it dried up relatively quickly. And yet the complexity has remained, And I think one of the things that we tend to deal with is feeling overwhelmed. I know that everybody out there is feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And one of the defense mechanisms is to shut off. And I think that can lead to those feelings of emptiness. So what do you do? Well, I don't know if I particularly learned this, but it's one of the ways I sort of coped traveling through the tumultuous teenage years. When the world just feels like it's too much, just pick one thing, right? If you find yourself spinning a dozen plates, right? Just keep one going, right? And you will have that sense of accomplishment and achievement of having that one plate going. This is really important, right? And I know some of you out there, probably half of, maybe more than half of you are like, but what about the other plates? They're going to crash. They're going to all come crashing down. But you focus on keeping that one plate spinning. So I'll kind of give you an example of what I mean. And the idea is just start accomplishing things, just small things. I hate saying accomplish things because it makes it feel like I'm saying go out there and do something big. I'm not talking about that at all, right? There's this Canadian psychologist, Jordan Peterson. He's a radically polarizing figure. He wrote this book called 12 Rules of Life, and I've never read it, but apparently in it he states something about making your bed as one of the rules. Now that little gem really works. It's not Peterson's brainchild. I think the military recognized this from the very, very beginning, right? The military places an incredible amount of importance on making your bed, right? The sheets have got to be pulled so taut that you can bounce a quarter on it, right? So why that emphasis, And it's the military, right? So they're just being needlessly ruthless because it's the military. And there are all these questions. There are some questions that used to run through my head when I was a kid. Why make my bed? Why even bother? Because I'm just going to mess it up again at the end of the day when I jump in. So why? What is it with this making of the bed? Well, the military understood one thing, right? Soldiers are under a tremendous amount of stress, a stress that we cannot believe as civilians. There's no chance we can fathom it, right? And at the end of the day, it's their lives that they're holding out there, especially if they're in an active theater or some kind of active engagement, right? So in that kind of stress where it's a life and death game, who cares if you make your bed, right? It's a small thing that you can do, that you have power over, no one else. And you can do it to the best of your ability and walk away feeling accomplished at the start of your day, right? At the start of your day. I just shoulder checked my kid's bed. It's kind of made. I was sitting here talking about this, and let's get this sorted out, right? There you go, buddy. There you go. Yeah. Right? But it doesn't have to be your bed. This is one thing I told my kid. It doesn't have to be your bed. It can be anything. Small, right? Very small. Do it. Feel like you've accomplished something, right? If you got a list of 20 things to do, I generally go, well, you know what? If I can get one, maybe two things on that list today, I'll be happy, right? And then you peck away at it like that, and you grow it carefully, very carefully, slowly grow it, right? And this, to me, I think, is one of the ways that I've found you can dig yourself out of a little bit of a mental hole, right? So there we have it. Complexity, right? How do you deal with it? Pick something simple, something small, something achievable. If you like playing guitar, just come up with a riff. Not a whole song, just a riff. Whole song's too stressful, right? If you're an artist, open up your sketch pad. Well, maybe not your sketch pad, because if I know artists will be self-critical, immensely self-critical, even over small little doodles. So, perhaps not that, but I don't know, making the perfect smoothie, making the perfect cup of coffee, right? The Japanese understood this. One of the early philosophies, and Asian philosophy in general, because I was going to say the Chinese as well. Chinese believe Kung Fu is in everything, right? Japanese believe you should achieve perfection in everything. Perfection in a cup of tea. Perfection in terms of how you draw the bow and how you hit the target when you're doing archery. Every movement is precise and perfect, right? Because there's a celebration in that. It's not about setting these unachievable tasks. It's about your own outer actions helping your own inner turmoil settle, right? Your mind, your body, and your spirit start to become attuned, right? So there's no way you can have a steady mind unless you can exercise a little bit of a steady body, right? So try it. Put those two in tandem together, working together, right? Because I think in the crazy times that we live in, things can just spiral wildly out of control. But you have the brakes, and I think people forget that. You have the brakes, right? Slam on the brakes. Slow the rest of the world down. Or better yet, slow yourself down. Let the rest of the world pass you by. Pick one thing, drill down into it, do it, step back at the end of the day, and go, wow, there we go, right? Forest could be burning around you, but you've planted a tree, little sapling, right? Admire that, appreciate that, understand that it's a start, right? So there we go. That's my 2 cents worth for today, and thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you in a couple seconds where we will try and do another visual effects shop breakdown.